Thank you for tuning in to Gain and Glow, a feel-good lifestyle podcast with me, Vanessa.
And me, Crystal.
Okay, so now we're moving into what I like to call food season.
Yes, definitely. Starts with Halloween.
Yes.
Rolls steadily through the rest of the year.
Exactly. Halloween kicks it off with all of the fun Halloween treats. Then we go into Thanksgiving. I feel like Halloween's like a warm-up. Thanksgiving's like a practice round. And then Christmas is where it's like, okay, this is it. This is your first, like, what is it, regionals or whatever? You're like a cheerleader or something. So,
definitely.
What better to do our episode today on than food and snacks?
Definitely. And for today's dope quote, we got a food-related quote.
It's dumb.
So today's quote's from Michelle May, MD. She's the author of a book that has a really long title, which I'll read to you after the quote. Mindful eating isn't linear. It's more like a spiral, taking you deeper into knowing how to care for yourself. And I love that.
I love that. I think that is such a great quote for today's episode, because food is like this like double-edged sword almost. I mean, obviously we're humans and we have to consume food in order to live. That's known. That's science. But also at the same time, food can be extremely like detrimental. It's like a whole thing. It's a whole thing. And I think most of us going into this season realize that we have a lot of issues surrounding food, and changing your mindset about food is so important to keeping your goals, especially going into holiday seasons.
Yes, definitely. And it's exactly what her book is about. So, yes. Which we haven't read it, but after seeing this, I was like, okay, I need to read this.
Yes.
Her book is called Eat What You Love What You Eat, How to Break Your Eat, Repent, Repeat Cycle.
So,
and I'm like, it's a little triggering. Sounds really specific to me.
Yeah. I feel attacked, but intrigued. So that's good.
Yeah, it really made me think about like going into the season. It's like, I mean, haven't we had enough like triggering emotions? Like so many things. Like I feel like people are either leaning really hard on food right now, or like being really focused on getting their relationship with food down right now. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's all I'm seeing on the internet. It's like, it's one side or the other. Like,
yes, which is, we'll round off into that a little bit deeper in this episode too, because that's a whole thing in itself, is these extremes that we go to when it comes to food. It's either like one way we're leaning on it for unhealthy reasons and we're using it as a coping mechanism. The other way we're focusing far too much on it as a way to help ourselves, but to what extent and to what detriment. And that is why I'm so not comfortable with diet culture. Especially in these times of the year. Diet culture becomes so centrally focused. Like you said, it seems like everybody is talking about food right now in that kind of mindset. Either their relationship with food, the restrictions on food, the idea of how to like lose weight after you've like binged on food for the holiday seasons. It just becomes so heavily revolved around diet culture, which I just do not like.
Yeah, and I think especially for being a woman, it's like you're already like raised with all these like overwhelming thoughts about what you look like and like what you weigh, and like, you know, we all had parents and grandparents who were like, sit up straight, suck it in, like, do you want dessert? Oh no, you've already had too much. And you're just like, people are always commenting at you about how you're eating or not eating. And it's, I mean, besides just family, it's like, yeah, you have like the whole culture out there. It's like, it's summer, time to get that beach body. So do this detox cleanse real quick. And then it's like, well, you're going into fall. So, look good for your family gatherings and blah, blah, blah. And like eat cabbage for a week, cabbage soup. Lemon cayenne pepper drinks.
And I feel like so many influencers and some celebrities, I feel like they pander to not only that mindset of seasonal diet culture, get skinny for summer so you have abs, get toned for that sexy little Halloween costume. But now we've also been enduring a 9-month isolation period because of the pandemic. So we're now also being pandered to as snap back from your pandemic weight or lose all of that you've gained in lockdown. Like, there's also this whole other layer of them pandering to weight that has been gained during the pandemic.
You mean the quarantine 15?
Oh, you're telling me it's so common that there's a name. Quarantine 15. Exactly. There's this whole movement in the diet culture of targeting that, and it's only exacerbating the pressures that we already have going into this season.
Right? Like this pre-made Drake shakes, Slim something. I'm not going to say it because I don't know if we can say it. But they went all keto. And I'm like, okay, most of it is like sugar and milk proteins and stuff. It's like, you could make that yourself for way cheaper than 4 bottles for like $10. You could treat yourself way better than buying into like a fad shake or bar or whatever. And trust me, like, I know, like I think we've all gone down rabbit holes on doing different diets to like hit an end goal. And I think that's part of why diets don't really work. It's like, there isn't an end goal. Like it's a lifestyle change to help you live the way that you want to look and stuff. It's like, I think I've definitely lost 10 pounds a few times over in a year after gaining it back and then some, because I thought, okay, if I can just train my mind to focus on this diet for 1 month, then I'll reset my brain and I'll think that this is how I want to live, or I'll hit that goal and I'll feel good enough about myself to eat more like in tune, more regular. And you're not really transforming the way you think about food. You're just putting like, rose-colored glasses on and going like, if I have this protein shake for breakfast, a bar for dinner, and a salad for lunch or whatever, I'll live my best life. And mostly you just make yourself miserable.
Exactly. And diets most often fail for, like you said, because it's seen as this restrictive, to me, in my perspective, it's this restrictive punishment for not being good enough. Our culture bases a lot of clout around physical aesthetics. If you walk outside your door and look anywhere, you see it. It's in media. Everything is about the physical representation. It's about being pretty, thin, but also curvy, but also this, but also this. And it's incredibly restricting, and it's punishment. We're using diets to punish ourselves for not meeting unrealistic expectations set by a society that has been shaped mostly by the patriarchy. Yes, I'm going down that path. But I think the reason we fail is because we're using these diets to punish ourselves rather than seeing food as a form of self-care, which doesn't mean that you have all reign to go eat 12 cupcakes because they make you feel good in that moment. It means that you can eat one cupcake and be excited about how it tastes and appreciative for that special treat, while also not hating yourself for not meeting some random expectation. You're not breaking your diet and cheating. and being bad, like cheat day. Ooh, it's, you literally just wanted it, you enjoyed it, and now you can continue on your path of just living your life because that's just a part of life.
Yeah, and I think that is, it's something that, like, you saying it just makes so much sense to me. And I've thought that way. I've had that approach where I'm like, if I'm just really good for 2 weeks, I can enjoy that cupcake I know is coming, or like donut day at the office or whatever. And then I go and I have it, and then I normally am like, oh, this is really good. Oh, there's still more. Oh, you're still offering it to me. Okay, I'll have some more. And then I end up feeling guilty about it, and then I'm like back to where I started. And so it's so much about uh that diet culture, along with knowing that you just need to eat food in order to, like, you can enjoy some food. You can also, like, you know, feed yourself really well, like, the rest of the time, and there's no good, there's no bad. It takes something to click into your brain, because I've had this conversation going on in my mind for years. And I don't really feel like it, I feel like with, compared with like having diet culture and then also, social and family pressures or whatever, I've developed this mindset that it's like everything's a cycle. It's like I need to lose weight for a cycle. I can only enjoy food when I'm done losing weight. I can only like, I segment it so much in my mind, and it's totally led to what I didn't even really recognize until like this year, about like making long lasting changes of, it's really more of a pattern of disordered eating than being specifically like having bulimia or going through like another more like it's a disordered eating versus like an eating disorder.
Exactly. Yes, disordered eating is basically just having an unhealthy mindset towards food, which I think a lot of people also just see being overweight or heavyset or something like that as a disordered eating habit. But over obsessing about diets, going constantly from one yo-yo diet to another yo-yo diet, shaming yourself when you fall off of your keto diet, that is another form of disordered eating if it becomes unhealthy and it becomes an obsession that becomes detrimental to you as well. And I think that we all, like you said, growing up and having societal pressure plus family pressure, it almost makes it seem like if you don't have that mindset of like obsessing about your food, like you're failing, like it's supposed to be part of life. That's what, I'm getting it from all ends. This is what life is about, right? Struggling with my food. And then we find ourselves down the line as grown adults realizing so many years were wasted obsessing about food and being stuck in those disordered eating patterns that we didn't even realize we were not even enjoying the life that we did have. And it's so hard to break that cycle. And the first part of breaking that cycle is actually coming to the realization of your own personal disordered eating habits and understanding that it's okay, first of all, and now you have permission to let go of some of that.
Yeah, I've definitely feel like I could say I've done it all. I bought the shakes, I bought the pre-made meals, I've counted calories religiously, I've not counted calories, I've like, worked out while counting calories. And I remember one time thinking like, well, I know that I don't have to work out in order to lose weight. I just need to eat less. And it's like, well, everyone can say eat less, but what does that mean? Well, it means less than what your body is normally, your body burns a certain amount of calories already during the day. And so if you eat just a little bit less than that, like I think they say like even 200 calories, it's like that's going to make a difference. So it's like, okay, just don't have one thing almost. But you really like it takes like it takes so much to learn from what you're doing. So I really like the idea of just like writing your food down so you are physically aware, like mentally, physically, like seeing exactly what it is you're putting in your body every day and then judging on making changes and not going from, maybe eating 2,300 calories to being like, well, I have to lose weight, so I'm going to eat 1,200 calories. It's like, you're going to feel sick. You're not going to feel good. You're not going to have energy and you're not going to maintain that. It's so much better to like take 100 calories off there and maybe go on a 10 minute, 20-minute walk and burn 100 calories. And it's like, that's healthy. That's that's like a gradual change that you can stick to, which leads to more gradual changes, which is really how like me and you have found success, is just implementing habits that you continue over time despite like everything else that happens in life. Like we've definitely had our ups and downs this year, physically, mentally, all of it. And it's really like a good time to realize like you shouldn't be so hard on yourself. You shouldn't say food is good or food is bad. It's like food is used as fuel for your bodies, for your everyday actions. Like I tried counting calories religiously to where I was like, oh, I don't care what I eat. I'm just going to make sure it fits into my calorie range. Because you see those girls who are like, if it fits your macros, and they're eating like a donut on top of a bowl of ice cream, and you're like, oh, snap, that fits in their macros. It's like, well, most of the time they're eating like a lot more nutrient dense food. And then that's like what they planned for. And that creates like a weird psychological thought too, that you're like, these buff girls can eat ice cream and I can't, like without not making progress. Like, but it really is more about what you consistently do than anything else. Yeah. And that's why like these small changes are what makes the biggest difference, and like being aware of everything that you're doing. See, really being aware.
and I wish that we could move away from diets and make mindful eating the norm. Like, I want to normalize that. Let's normalize mindful eating. Being aware of what we're eating and understanding that a corn dog might have the same amount of calories as an apple with peanut butter. One of them is going to, first of all, be more satiating and keep you full longer. And the other one is just going to be empty carbs, full of sugars, which will spike your blood sugars in a whole other different way. Like, being mindful about the things that we're choosing to eat. They might be the same amount of calories, yeah, but which one is going to be a treat for your body truly? Which one's really actually giving your body something good? And that's what mindful eating is all about. Or, in the same aspect, seeing a bowl of ice cream for what it is. This is a sugary, potentially fatty, caloric treat, but I'm consistent 90% of the time, 88% of the time. So this one thing is not going to be a detriment. It's not going to derail everything that I've done, because the moderation that I already have, the consistency and the way I'm already fueling my body with good nutrients is there. The foundation's there. This is just a quick flash of something different, and then I'm back on it, and it's not a big deal. It's not cheating, it's not dangerous, it's not bad. It's just, it is what it is. It's good, and it's yummy, and you wanted it, so you had it, and then there's no guilt to take from that.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's like a story we tell ourselves in our minds about food, that ice cream is bad. And so therefore you should feel guilt. And then you go to a little bit of a shame spiral. And then you go, well, I've already messed up this much. I should just give in, which when you look at it logically makes no sense. Mm-hmm. Like you already had what you considered giving in, which is really just giving yourself something you wanted. Now go back to the habits that are going to help like align to like you being consistent again. Like I've noticed this for myself really hugely this year. I have not been super consistent, but I've been consistent enough. And what I mean by consistent enough is like I've been like eating and like writing down my food most days. And then on days where I don't, or days that I don't write everything down, it's like I'm still very aware because I've already mentally been making that habit of writing stuff down. So I think about, well, what did I have already today? And then, excuse me. And then that over time has made it so that I've been able to like slowly, slowly, slowly lose weight. And even if I'm not losing weight, it's like I can have pizza and some beer and go wake up the next morning without being super puffy in my face. Whereas if I am doing that more consistently throughout the week, then like I have a burger and pizza and then, 2 or 3 days of those in the row, I'll wake up puffy for like a week. Mm-hmm. And then my body's just going, oh, it's okay. This is just a little extra processing time to like get this through your system. And then you're back to where you were like a couple days ago. And I think that's been the biggest difference for me, is noticing that your body recoups really quickly. Like it adjusts to whatever you do regularly. And I know I feel my best when I like feed myself the best.
Yeah. And when we're not giving ourselves permission to enjoy food in a healthy headspace where we can do that, where we can enjoy a piece of pizza and some beer and then go about our normal life, what we end up doing is we end up restricting ourselves so severely that it turns into binging. And it's an extremely unhealthy cycle to get into, and it causes so much mental disruption, because you go from one extreme of like dieting and being super restrictive and super, I'm gonna do this. This is one of my issues actually with I think the keto diet and some of those diets, those fad diets that go around, the juicing. It's so restrictive and it's so controlled that when we do give in a little bit or have what we, call a cheat day, it's almost like we've done something naughty. Then we go into this weird shame area. And then what we are now doing is our brain has been so restricted from some of these stimulants like sugar or whatever it may be that it creates a craving. And food is a lot like drugs. When you go really hard and then you limit yourself, you're going to have a state of withdrawal, and it can go both ways. If you go really hard with limitations and you dive back in, you're going to overdo it and send your body into a whole state of cravings. And then once you go back to restricting again so heavily, then you're going to go through a state of withdrawal and a state of wanting these things. And you'll have a repetitive cycle of detoxing and then relapsing and detoxing and relapsing. If you give yourself only 1,250 calories of like nuts and berries all week, and then you go hard on one day of the week, it's going to take almost that whole next week to go back into that and get back over those cravings. And I think that that's where a lot of us fail when we do these diets. And I know when you and I first met, like 5-6 years ago or however long it's been now, I was paleo and you were on Whole30, which is very similar, which was hilarious because we met and I was like, what? We're on the same diet. I will say.
That's so funny. That's true. It's 100% true.
Yeah. And I'll say the paleo diet was one of the ones that I liked the most because it actually started kind of my mental process of realizing the quality of food rather than quantity. And I
yes. And Whole30 was not about counting calories. It was just about eating whole foods.
Exactly. And I think that those are the I'm going to call them diets because that's what they are, but those are the diets that I think can get you going in the right direction. But I think any diet that you find should really be a template of how you can be more mindful with your food. Mm-hmm. And it should always emphasize quality over quantity, and it should never be this strict contract you have with yourself that requires punishment when broken. Because that, I think, is just unhealthy inherently in itself. And it creates dangerous spirals, unhealthy spirals.
It's just such a better way of saying what I was trying to say earlier. I'm like, how do I say this? No, you just nailed it. You just nailed it. Because so so much of my life has been a week on, a week off, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, and you just feel like garbage every time you try to do anything opposed to what you were already doing. That's why small changes like just anything. I mean, good Lord, anything. Makes such a difference in your mood and like how you physically feel every day.
And making it healthy and making it part of your life. That's why I like that you and I have really heavily leaned into referring to it as a lifestyle change, because that's really what it is. It's a lifestyle change. And when you look at it as a positive thing, you open yourself up to accepting things that are good too. I think when we talk about diets and losing weight and all of these stigmas that we have to look perfect and have abs and be more buff and get more protein, all of these things, they rob us from the joys. I would have never, ever in my life tried almond butter had I not started down this road of finding things that were yummy and good for me. And I think that's where we got to swing this whole thing is, if you want to lose weight, that's okay, as long as you're doing it from a place of health. It's also okay to do that by finding new foods to love and focusing on that rather than just writing off everything that you love and being like, well, great, now I'm just going to eat salads every day. Because then you're going to get bored. I'm going to tell you that right now, because there's only so much you can do with lettuce.
It's true. One thing that stuck in my mind was, if I wanted something, it's like I either allow myself to have it when I want it, or I say, you know what, I'm going to enjoy that this weekend because I want to stick with what I'm doing this week. I already pre-made my lunches, whatever. Like I'll just do that weekend. And that way it kind of gives yourself, you're reinforcing that you are choosing to stick to the choices you've already made. And then you're also allowing yourself to enjoy something later. And so by the time the weekend comes, you're like, do I really want that? Or maybe I want something else to indulge in. Or maybe, you know what, I'm on such a good track, I can just keep going. But like, also like, like allowing yourself to have a break. Like, you can be like, I'm going to track my calories every single day. It's going to be 1,500 square. And guess what? Some days you're going to feel much better than others. Some days you just need a little bit more calories so you can actually feel better. Sometimes you need a little bit, like, I wouldn't even say you ever need less, but there's been some days where it's like I was working out so consistently, I was eating near my calories so consistently, and please don't ever try to eat spot on to a certain number. Like, allow yourself 200 calories, because I mean, a spoonful of peanut butter is 100 calories, and let me tell you, can eat a whole lot more than that. So don't ever try to stick to a strict hard number. Allow yourself leeway, whether it's to eat a little bit more or take a rest day, and just be gentle with yourself. Just acknowledge how you're feeling and adjust accordingly, because diets really try to pinpoint you into certain times, certain foods, certain amounts, and it's not real. It's not real life.
Yeah, and it's the level of restrictions some diets simply have the best way. They have a shelf life. There's only so long you can maintain certain diets and certain restrictions before it's no longer helpful for you anymore. And it's important to always be mindful about your eating so you can pivot when you need to pivot. If you're gaining weight, losing weight, gaining muscle, training for something, your diet, meaning your meal plan, your eating habits, will need to change as you change. We're human beings. We're constantly evolving. Our needs are constantly evolving. We age, unfortunately. I'm already grappling with that. Existential crisis. But as we age too, our needs change. The nutrients we need. I mean, you will always be constantly evolving, and your meals and your food have to evolve as well. And if you don't give yourself permission to try new things or be flexible or enjoy every now and then, what's it all been about? you won't truly give yourself what you need for the long run. It's about the journey. It's not about the end goal.
For sure.
And that's that, guys. Thank you for tuning in to Gain and Glow, our Feel Good podcast. I'm Vanessa.
I'm Crystal. Take a deep breath. You got this.
Yeah. Until next time, guys. Thanks. Bye.